We'll do our best to facilitate a smooth meeting with public participation via Zoom and webcast. Before we begin, here are some important guidelines and general instructions for the meeting. Please silence your cell phones or any other communication devices. During the meeting, all public participants will be placed on mute by the host. Public members will not be able to mute or unmute manually. Audio for members of the public will be unmuted once they are recognized to make a public comment. After each agenda item, the chair will announce public comment. The clerk will recognize any public attendees who have indicated they wish to speak. So with that, we're calling the meeting to order at 5:36. And can we have roll call, please?
Sure. Okay. Naomi Martinez.
Present.
Keith Freitas. Laura Gutierrez.
Present.
Thank you. Dennis Brazil.
Here.
Thank you. Esperanza Vielma. Thomas Helm. Derek Williams. Richard O'Brien.
Here.
Ned Liba. Casey Austin Tibbetts. Manuel Cunha. Chris McLaughlin. Through the chair, we have not met quorum.
Thank you. Because of that,
from the Southern District, Orchard Crier, I'm here.
Thank you, Mr. Crier.
Thank you, Mr. Crier. Do we have quorum?
No, he's the alternate to Mr. O'Brien.
Okay. Then we will table or not go through the approval of the minutes from our June meeting because we don't have a quorum. We'll go straight to public comments, please.
Do we have any public comments in Bakersfield?
No members of the public in Bakersfield.
Thank you. Do we have any public comments in Modesto?
There are no members of the public in Modesto.
Thank you. Are there any members of the public in Fresno that would like to comment? Seeing none in Fresno and none online.
Okay, I'm going to keep my comments brief. I just want to welcome Ryan to guiding us in these meetings. Thank you, Ryan, for taking over. Please wish Jessica congratulations on behalf of all of us because she just had her baby and we're very happy for her and we're happy to have you here. So thank you for being part of this process. With that, I'm going to pass it on to you to give us some comments.
I sincerely appreciate the comments, and I mean, it means a lot. And I definitely enjoy being at these meetings and hearing from all of you and receiving feedback and recommendations from this group on a lot of the initiatives that we're working on. Just a few updates. Back in June, Jessica shared out with the group that we had launched a zero emission lawn care equipment program, and we've seen a lot of interest in it. And so to kind of spur that on even more, we've been hosting in-person events. And so we had an in-person event in Fresno just recently, had really great turnout. There was actual equipment on site that people could test out. And we're planning on holding more of those. And so the next event is September 1st at Inland Harbor in Turlock. And then we're also planning to have an event in Kern County in October. And when we have a date for that, we'll be sure to share that information with all of you. And just as a quick reminder, that program provides up to 100% funding for public agencies and for small businesses for equipment like trimmers, ride-on lawnmowers, things of that nature, up to $15,000 per piece of equipment. So it's a substantial amount of funding for this program, and it's really important to transition this equipment away from the older diesel gasoline type pieces of equipment, because that generates a lot of emissions, especially when a lot of this equipment operates at schools during school hours. And my wife being a teacher, she has expressed frustration, when they run the equipment, they have to close the door and they can't, when it's nice outside, they can't have the door open because it's so loud. And so, my brother-in-law is the assistant superintendent for Hanford Elementary. and he's already been equipping their schools with zero emission ride-on lawnmowers. And so the feedback that they're getting from all of the teachers is it's amazing because you can't even hear them outside mowing the lawn, and so they're able to enjoy the nicer days. Couple other things. We've every year our outreach and communications team does a fantastic job of getting out in the communities, getting out to schools and handing out information. Definitely have a strong presence in regards to anti-idling, especially in the beginning of school year when it's really hot outside, and we do see like those higher levels of ozone around school areas. And so it's really important for us to get out there and remind people about the anti-idling importance and sharing out information about all of our other programs. And so this week we did Shafter. We were at Shafter Elementary. Tonight we have 2 people at the back to school event in Kawa. So we're doing a lot of that outreach. One thing, even though it's really hot outside, we definitely want to talk about our change out program for fireplaces. And so as we get into that season, we start doing advertising, we start doing other things to get people interested in participating in the program. And, last year, the board increased incentive amounts, especially for electric heat pumps, and even some of the other devices to increase the levels of participation and the ability for people to participate. Having gone through the AB 617 process and talking about our existing programs, some of the feedback we got was that the incentive amounts weren't enough for people, especially in low-income, disadvantaged communities, to be able to participate in these programs. And so the recommendation was to elevate those incentive amounts, which thankfully our board did. And so we definitely want people to participate in that. You can get up to, for example, $5,000 to change to an electric heat pump. And so we're definitely encouraging people to look into that program. And those are the updates that I have. Thanks.
Thank you, Ryan. And I'm gonna take this opportunity to welcome SB. Welcome, SB. Are there any questions or comments for Ryan in Modesto?
No comments in Modesto.
Bakersfield?
No comments
Okay.
in Bakersfield.
Sure.
So I do have one comment about the zero emission yard implements. My gardener went to a electric blower, and that's the one thing that my dogs just absolutely hate, and they just go crazy. When he pulled that out and was right around the house, they were like, what is that sound? They had no idea what that sound was. It was great to be on a Zoom call and not hear them barking in the background and hear that in the background. But yeah, I told him about the program, and I said, you can replace all of it. So he was kind of excited about that. So thank you for the update.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic. It's great to hear.
That's for sure. I do have a question. Do you have a process, like, for example, CCGen has been working directly with, schools in rural communities, including obviously Terravela, but Cantua Creek is another one. We were in conversation with, the superintendent there about what things can they change and all that. So what would be the best way to make that connection so that they know how to apply? Sometimes it's just they're super busy, right? So if we don't have like a super, like really contacting them and being proactive, I don't know that they would take advantage. So what could you suggest for that?
If there are specific schools that you're interested in us reaching out to, or if you have a contact at a school that you want us to reach out to, you could share it with Jamie Holt or Heather Hanks, and we will definitely get in contact and touch base with them. We try to get out to all the schools that we can. We're very proactive in reaching out to schools and school districts. What we ideally like to do is we like to get there early in the morning and in the afternoons. So we try to get there at drop off and pickup. and try to connect with parents while they're waiting in line and to share out the information with them. And, we've had a lot of success, but that definitely requires us to coordinate with the school districts. We don't go out there without them being okay with what we're planning on doing. But thankfully, the schools are generally very accepting and happy to have us.
Yeah, and that's great, but I was thinking more about the schools applying for the replacement of the lawnmowers and all those equipment.
So if you're trying to connect them with the zero emission lawn care equipment, you could definitely have them reach out to our grants department, and we have a dedicated staff that's working on that program who would be happy to assist them in any way that they would need.
And this is for all schools throughout the valley, doesn't matter size or if they're rural or urban or.
Yeah, it's open to public agencies, businesses, so schools, cities, counties.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank
So
you.
it's a great program.
Thanks. Okay, if there are no more questions or comments, we're gonna move on to the update on attainment plans and rules.
Through the chair.
Okay.
Since you do have a quorum now, you could look to. Oh, we still don't. All right. Oh, okay, gotcha. Sorry.
Good evening. Thanks for having me here. My name is Emily Nealon, and I'm the program manager of our air quality planning team here at the district, here to provide a couple updates on current projects that we are working on for our plans and rules. So first, we're continuing our development of our updated plan for the 2012 annual PM 2.5 standard. We did just schedule a public workshop for September 7th at 5 p.m. We'll be providing the presentation in both English and Spanish, and we'll also be providing simultaneous Spanish interpretation during the workshop. And we are going to be continuing to develop this plan through the remainder of 2023 with additional workshops to come. Additionally, to address contingency measure requirements, we just published our proposed Rule 8051 for open areas for the September Governing Board hearing. Specifically, the proposed rule includes a contingency measure that would lower the applicability threshold for rural open areas from 3 acres to 1 acre. And we've also included some proposed considerations for fire prevention activities. We're also working on developing a contingency measure package for the 2015 8-hour ozone standard. And then with regards to our maintenance plans, we are in attainment of both the PM10 and the 1997 24-hour PM 2.5 standard. So we're currently developing our maintenance plans for both of those standards so that we can be formally redesignated to attainment. And then lastly, we're continuing our rule development efforts for 2 rules, Rule 4402 for crude oil production sumps and Rule 4550 for conservation management practices. And that concludes my updates. I'd be happy to take any questions that you may have.
Are there any questions or comments in Modesto?
No questions or comments in Modesto.
Bakersfield?
No questions or comments in Bakersfield?
Laura? I have a question. The crude oil rule 4402, does that still maintain an exception for small producers?
So this rule is a little bit separate from like the typical leak detection and repair and like the traditional storage and production side. This is actually deals specifically with the wastewater. And so it is looking at the latest requirements in other areas, other air districts, and evaluating what is potentially best available retrofit control technology for those operations. So the exemptions that you're talking about really deal more with on the production side than on this side for the wastewater.
So it will cover any size of operations.
There are like size requirements, like thresholds for it to be subject to like surface area requirements and things like that in the rule. So it doesn't apply. There are still exemptions in there, but that's part of what the process entails is evaluating those as well.
Where can I get more information of the exemptions for this particular rule? I'm not very familiar with it or at all.
Yeah, so that you can find a copy of the current rule on our website under the current rules on the left-hand side. And specifically, you can select Rule 4402, and then the whole copy of the rule is in there, which includes the exemptions.
Okay, thank you.
I can email you a link to that.
Thank you, Ryan. Okay, any additional questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
I think she knows.
Okay, I think we're gonna reg my previous record.
Yeah. It's doing great.
Well, there are no questions, so I will stop asking questions and then we can, end sooner. Okay, we're gonna move to the update on the California Department of Pesticide Regulation, their regulatory development work. Who will be presenting? Oh.
We have Min Pham from Department of Pesticide Regulation. Thanks a lot for being here tonight, Min.
Welcome.
Thank you, everybody. I appreciate you guys giving us a little bit of time here, and thank you for the invitation. A little rusty with Zoom, so let me see if I can share my screen. I have a really short slide deck. Wanted to kind of touch on a couple things, and I know that I'm going to probably talk relatively fast, so a lot of this might go quickly. So if there's any questions thereafter, happy to answer them or even get in contact with me. Okay. Are we able to see that there? Okay, thank you, Nani. So once again, my name is Min Pham. I am the chief for the environmental monitoring branch here at the Department of Pesticide Regulation. Coming in to just give brief updates on our ongoing 1,3-dichloropropanone. I'll be calling it 1,3-D or T-loan throughout the presentation. We're actively.
Excuse me, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but we're having some technical problems.
Okay.
Can you hear us from the room?
Through the chair in the Bakersfield office, is it just the Zoom presentation that you can't hear?
He is very faint, the speaker.
Okay. We'll try to bump it on this end. Sorry about that.
No problem, thank you. I've turned up my far end volume as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Mr. Pham, are you able to raise your microphone volume at all? Or just speak closer to the mic?
My mic is right next to me. And I have bumped it up as high as I can, I believe. Yep, it's maxed out.
Thank you. Is that any better in Bakersfield?
No, not much.
Okay. Is it an isolated thing to them, or am I coming in faint to everybody?
I think it's just in Bakersfield. Modesto, is the audio okay on your end?
Yes, we can hear okay up here.
Thank you. I apologize for that to those in Bakersfield.
What do we do?
I think Marlon said they can hear, right? It's very faint.
Just from him or the room.
I don't know, do you guys have any?
Okay, microphone set. Okay. Yeah, I've moved my microphone and changed up my things to increase the volume. So let me know if that's any better. I'm speaking rather loud in my room right now. So.
Thank you. Just give us one second, Mr. Pham. We're going to try one more thing.
Thank you all for your patience.
Through the chair, if you'd like, we're willing to go ahead and move forward with the slide presentation we also have printed out and follow along that way.
Thank you, appreciate it. So we're ready to continue. Thank you.
Okay. So apologies if to those that can't hear me. Again, if anybody needs to reach out to me, happy to talk to them about this thereafter. But nothing throws off a presentation than technical difficulties right in the middle, so I'll try to stumble through the rest of this. Again, my name is Min Pham, Chief for the Environmental Monitoring Branch here at the Department of Pesticide Regulation. I'll be talking about our work with 1,3-dichloropropanone, commonly heard as 1,3-D or T-lone, so I'll use that interchangeably throughout the presentation. So my team is one of many that have been working to get this regulation into law. So with that, a couple of things that we've been given as kind of a foundation to move toward, or sorry, a goal to move towards. Obviously, my team works with mitigation and kind of solving the exposure problems. We have actually we've received acute thresholds and chronic thresholds. What that is 24-hour exposures for infants and children. We get a baseline number from our toxicology team. Same thing for our cancer risk, which is a 70-year average. And my team is responsible for moving, making sure that we achieve those throughout our regulation. One of the things here is, although we are primarily working on the acute, which is the 24-hour regulation, we believe that through our work and some of the restrictions put in place, we will actually achieve the cancer risk as well. So kind of keep that in your mind as I walk through this. So overall, my team does quite a bit of just developing new methods or refining existing application methods and technology. So a couple of things that we were looking at is we wanted to achieve TIF-TARP-like performance. So many of you have gone by a field and have seen a very specific tarpaulin or film that's put down on top of the land there. There's a specific type called TIF, so total impermeable film tarp, and that is the kind of the standard at which we want to reach. So recognizing that tarping has its own kind of recycling and plastic use, we also went in and said, okay, what other things can we do to achieve similar results? A lot of those came about from development of soil moisture requirements, which suppresses emissions coming off the field. We've also looked and developed new application methods where this product is actually injected deeper, and we have a partial tarping method as well. The overall goal is to give a slew or a menu of options at which anybody who chooses to use this product can adhere to it. Overall, we also increased our requirements. So seasonally, we know that in different seasons, this product moves differently in the air. So we've put in restrictions for what we call the winter season. And we've aggressively put in setbacks, which is a distance from the edge of the field that you must maintain clearance if you're willing to use this. My team is also very much involved in what we call continuous evaluation. We're a huge component of that for the department. So what that means is, just because a product comes in, gets registered, or gets put out to use, we don't just leave it there. The team will do consistent air monitoring and evaluate the use reports that come in to ensure that what we have in place is actually working. If it doesn't, that triggers us to go back and look to resolve that issue or figure out what's going wrong there. So what drove quite a bit of this? We like to have foundational data. So with the new methods that we had in place, we had to actually do field experiments. So what we did is we set up application site studies where we actually worked with an applicator to put this product into the ground, and my team put air monitors around this field at varying distances. And we were out there, I was out there along with them. So for 1 hour increments, 4 hour increments, 6 hours, 12, and that lasted, I want to say, about a week. So we basically did that so that we would, I'm sorry, my light just went out. We did that so that we could truly understand the behavior of the product moving through the air. And this is a typical method that we've done in the past. Monitoring has been a staple throughout a lot of the other projects that we have done. So as you can see there, the first 3 were in Oakdale. That's actually in collaboration with a researcher, but the remaining 5 were the ones that my team did from start to finish without any collaboration. And just to put a little bit of context to this, typically a field study is done maybe once a year, just because of timing and coordination. The team got all 5 of these done in about 20 months. So it's a pretty large achievement for these guys and gals. So what did the results come out to be? I'm going to show 3 quick plots here, and I'll try to explain them as best I can. What you want to look at is the pilot study plot, which is the middle orange there. Everything to the right of it is a what we call a traditional TIF tarping. So that's a blanket broadcast where it's the entire field, and everything to, I'm sorry, that's to the left. So everything to the right of it is bedded, which is, they build out the shallow beds on the ground and then put the tarp over that. So as you can see, it kind of sits in the middle as far as emissions coming off the field. So we're kind of in between those two. So I think we're kind of achieving what we were initially set out to do. In comparison, this is a same plot here. I added in at the end there, all the way to the right. That's in what we call an untarped shallow broadcast. That's traditionally a 12-inch method that's injected into the ground. You'll see that for various things like sweet potatoes and some more shallow crops. And as you can see there, our pilot method is significantly lower in emissions from that. One of the other more traditional methods used is this untarped deep broadcast. It's commonly referred to as an 18-inch injection, and that's pretty typical across the Central Valley. So as you can see there, compared to that, we are also producing quite a bit of emissions reductions. So all that is to say, all that feeds into our modeling. So field studies are great because it ground truths quite a bit of what we do, but we do recognize that a field study is very expensive and very time consuming, and we can't be everywhere. So that's why we try to target specific places of value and conditions that would give us kind of like the extremes that we need. And with that, we once we have all those inputs, we build out this database, and that database would then be used to be put into our hydrus and our air mod modeling, where we can then do we do simulations over millions of runs at a time to show how this product moves off of the ground into the air, and from there, how does it move from the site off. And then we have a pretty robust meteorological database as well, so we know the dates of which we had those field studies, the accompanying weather information, and so from that we're able to extrapolate quite a bit and be pretty accurate about the movement of the product. And I can go into a lot about this, but we also have a QR code here if you're interested. The team has about 20 something documents or 22 published reports of how this model establishes everything that we do. It's essentially the foundation to quite a bit of the rulemaking. So another action that my team and a sister branch will work on is a secondary court order. The first reg that I just spoke about was for occupational, non-occupational bystanders. So that's infant. What we typically look at is infant, children, adults. So anybody living in and around the area. What this new court order is asking us to do is to do a regulation for occupational bystanders. What that is a farm worker that may be working at an adjacent field. So we're working with our partner agency, OEHA, right now And until we can get this fully in place, we're going to maintain some of the current regulations that are in there now, which is the township cap and the December prohibition. So I know I went through that relatively quickly and a lot, but my information is right here, along with quite a bit of the, sorry, the office turned off all our lights, websites and whatnot. So feel free to give me an email or check out our website, and happy to take questions if there are any at this time.
Thank you for the presentation. Do we have questions in Modesto?
Yes, hi. I just have a question when you were talking about the pilot project part of it, and maybe I didn't hear that like correctly as far as like when and how the monitoring took place and how often. Is that also on the QR code as far as like, you know, more information on that? And then the other question on that component is the locations. Was there in terms of why they were chosen and selected to be part of the pilot project?
Yeah, so yeah, the QR code has information on all the stuff I talked about here, and actually a few extra publications that are a lot more granular. So the pilot projects were done between 2020 and 2021, and sites were selected for a couple of different reasons. We concentrated from in Shafter and Kern County, mainly because of, you know, just ample fields and just participation. We also went to Denair, Atwater, and Rio Oso, and those were kind of getting in more of the coastal. So a lot of the way we break down the state is coastal versus inland, and we've noticed that the weather data between those two are very distinct. So we wanted to capture as much information as we can with these new methods that we're introducing. There also was a soil component. We were actually kind of combing around to see what different types of soil that we can grab in there. One of the fields has quite a bit high of organic content. One of the fields was a little bit more wet than another. So, and you know, the profiles such as like clay or sandy loam, all those things play a part in how a product moves off of the ground. So we try to canvas everything and try to get as much of diversity in our selection of fields as possible. I hope that answers the question there.
Yes, thank you.
Any other questions in Modesto?
No further questions in Modesto.
Bakersfield?
Yes, I have a couple of questions. You would have information what we're currently doing right now versus what's being proposed. My experience is that when we put down fumigants down, we have to notify so many people how many feet away from the field they are, and then we usually pay them motel rooms and stuff and a stipend for their inconvenience. And so that's going to be increased. That's what I'm curious at. And what other changes that are being made. And the other question I'd be interested in, who's this Vasquez versus DPR? I'm not familiar with that and what the issues he had, because I know we're very, very stringent that we're the fact that right now that it's kind of complicated on the application. Like I said, the temperature, different factors involved. Everything's very safe, because we're farming like 6,000 acres, and before we even put fumigate down, we check the soil for nematode count and stuff. If it's too high, we don't plant on that ground. We try to avoid putting fumigate down because it's expensive to apply it. And but I'm just kind of curious for myself, for my grower friends and stuff, what are the changes? Because I'm not up to date on that at this moment. I kind of retired from farming, so it's been like 6 months since I've been involved with it, and it's a tough business to be in. I'm asking. Thank you.
Yeah, so appreciate the question. So I think the biggest change here is a lot of this is clarification on practices that are kind of done informally, but also hammering down quite a bit of things that we needed. You mentioned soil moisture, which is one of the big things for us. We recognize that you know, we as a group, we were trying to produce as many options as possible to get the results we needed. And our thinking was like a menu of options, right? So the changes for a grower now would vary. And I apologize if that's my answer to that, but it really does, because it depends on, let's say, how far away an occupied structure is from the edge of your field. You know, like you can achieve the regulation by changing a few things here and there, whether it be soil moisture, whether it be an application depth, whether it be you know, if you have the setback, then maybe you don't need to change anything at all. So it'll vary from different fields to fields and crops and what you're looking to achieve. But the primary things that we're putting down here is the setback distances to clearly spell out how far away a structure and somebody who resides there needs to be for safe reasons, and you know, achieving a consistent soil profile. And 1,3-D is a restricted material, so it does go through the whole permit condition. So it, you know, many people have to sign off on it. So it's you know, we're trying to make that process, recognizing that it's a complicated process. We're trying not to complicate it even more, but we still need to achieve our health risk thresholds. And I apologize, I forgot the second part of your question there.
No. Second part is, can you get some information? Thing to work. Information, how this court lawsuit came about on this, because I know there's been mistakes in the past. Not everybody's perfect when it comes to putting fumigation down. It is a dangerous chemical, the stuff that we use, but I know that we try to be proactive as far as not, you know, have our buffer zones and everything to not do anything wrong. But it's actually, you know, like cancer and stuff. Has there been people that's been getting cancer from the fumigation? And how they got
the Vasquez case, and I apologize, I'm not a lawyer, so I only know components of this. The Vasquez case came about because of the implementation of a township cap. And I believe that it kind of circles around the regulatory like authority of that township cap. So it like we said, the township cap was put into place through permit conditions, and it was to address cancer risk. You know, because there's some legal issues, that's why we went ahead and we tried to address it with this acute risk regulation. There were high detections from a couple of our air monitors, and that's what flagged us initially to take a look at 1,3-D. So it was already on our docket to take a look at, because our acute readings, which is our 24-hour readings, we have air monitor stations throughout the state. It did ring high, and it was consistently getting high to our top hand threshold. So we were already looking at it. I think the Vasquez case is kind of we added it to this to kind of correct a couple things.
So your monitors was monitoring that it was migrating off the property, going to the monitors, or monitors were on the farm ground that was applying the fumigation?
So our air monitoring network is for it's basically a regional monitor, a county monitor. So it's supposed to encapsulate just ambient air. So it's not an edge of field situation. So it's not like I mentioned here with those studies. It was basically we monitor ambient air year round. So we also have a threshold that we take a look at and compare it to consistently. And we also track trending. So with that, we actually saw that it actually exceeded our initial 110 ppb threshold in our par liter station. And we saw it consistently rising in every other station that we had. So we had to take a deeper look. The scientists dug in, and we thought that it was best that we do this rulemaking to successfully do our human health exposures.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Laura, any questions? I don't have questions. Thank you for your presentation. And as a reminder, there's a QR code if you want more materials. Thank you again for being here with us. And we're going to move on with the next agenda item, which is a report on the electric vehicle charging infrastructure in multi-unit dwellings. Would that be? Okay. I was looking at you and like, so doing it.
Through the chair, I'm waiting to hear from the representative. The person who is scheduled to present has dropped off, and I'm waiting to see if there's an alternate.
We can skip and come back to this.
Actually, I think Tito Ventura is another representative, so I am going to promote him to panelist for that. Thank you.
Oh, it's PG&E, that's right.
Go ahead, Mr. Ventura.
Hello, can everyone hear me?
Yes, thank you. Go ahead.
Okay, so I'm going to start this presentation. I'm not familiar with Zoom very well either. Can everyone see the presentation for the PG&E right now, or are you seeing a map?
We can see the presentation.
Okay, excellent. Okay, so the multifamily and small business EV charger program. Really the program goal for this is to get as many people educated with the EV car program as possible. I live here in Turlock, and I've taken advantage of your guys' rebates, so thank you twice. So that's what we're trying to extend, is that knowledge that EVs are accessible. They're not that far out of reach, and with this program, we're looking to install the EV chargers in multi-unit housing and small businesses here locally. So that's the main goal of the project. Looking to serve 450 project sites and install 2,000 ports. The program benefits is that this is a no-cost EV charging installation. So small businesses and multi-unit housing really need to take advantage of this while the money is available, and get this installed, because obviously 2036 is coming, and it's going to be a requirement, and we're going to have a lot more of these EVs on the road, and infrastructure will be needed. So this is the groundwork for that 2036. Okay. Part of the component to this program is a resident and employee outreach. So after we've gone through the installation, we will go and go door to door and speak with people at the small business, and then also at the multi-unit housing, and just really try to educate the residences on the program so that they can take full advantage of it. This is just an example of some of the chargers that we've installed at different sites. We do have the option of having a 120, which is typical to your standard residential outlet, and then also the 220, which allows for a higher kilowatt and charging rate. Not sure if any of you have EVs, just you can charge it in twice the amount of time. So it's a real convenient, and that's really what we're pushing for a lot of the installation is the 220, the level 2. And then with site eligibility, you must be a PG&E customer. So Modesto, MID, I live in Turlock, TID. Unfortunately, we're not, we don't qualify, but the surrounding areas of our county do. And looking for multi-unit housing between 5 and 49 units, and small businesses with less than 100 employees, less than 16 million annual gross. And all of that is calculated by PG&E, so there is no verification on gross receipts. They will look at your annual kilowatt per hour rate to determine whether you're eligible or if you exceed that. And then we also take into consideration the priority eligibility list. PG&E has a proprietary map that we use to access, and that's where we determine which areas will get the priority depending on their equity status. And then all of this is submitted into the PG&E portal, and these are the dates that the current program is running through, and it is running through the 2024 of 31st of December. Any questions?
Yeah, can you elaborate on the map? Obviously, we cannot see it right now, but right now I see here Murata.
Yeah, so it's going to be the whole PG&E territory.
Does it include?
It includes all of PG&E's territory. So, like I said, TID, MID, that's a pocket that's excluded because of the irrigation districts, Bakersfield, Fresno, high priority areas. And then obviously the coast and wherever else PG&E has their coverage for their electrical coverage. Any other questions?
I do have another question from a previous slide, but do you want to finish the presentation first and then we go to questions?
That's the presentation right there. Yeah, real quick one.
Sorry, I thought there were more slides. So the question, I'm sorry, I'm taking a prerogative here and asking my questions first. On the slide about eligibility, it said small businesses and non-for-profit organizations. Mm-hmm. In the case of non-for-profit, do you have to own the building and the parking lot where the chargers will be installed?
That's kind of where we run into some issues. I was in Fresno, and we had a business that was leased, and the city owned the parking structure, the whole parking. So, yeah, that didn't qualify. And you will also have disqualifiers based on the age of your panel. Distance from panel to parking space. All of it has to be cost effective, and so any type of trenching through asphalt, concrete will disqualify some people that are applying. But no, you don't have to own the building; just have to be able to get permission.
Thank you. Any questions? I'll start in Fresno today, and then, well, right now, and then I'll move to the other places. Laura?
No, I'm good. Thank you.
Bakersfield?
No questions.
Modesto?
Yes. Thank you for that presentation. The question, I have a couple of questions actually. So we went through something, it wasn't called this, with PG&E as a nonprofit. And so then we had the issue of what you talked about, that the owner of the building was fine with us doing the installation, but then it had to go to our particular offices. So they were upstairs, and then there was no cost to connect you know, the charger directly to the building, for the electrical source. And so then the contractors that are being used don't have an option for like a solar charger, because then that would obviously resolve the issue that you're talking about in terms of going, you know, underground. And then the other thing that might also resolve is to offset some of the costs, right? Because you're talking about 2 EV chargers, and then, you know, if it's affordable housing or if it's whatever the location is, if they're going to do multiple chargers, then they're going to have an increase in use of kilowatts. And so then, you know, there's going to be a cost with that. So if there are any like future where you're going to have like an offset on some of those costs, like maybe taking, giving them additional kilowatts for free. So that's, you know, one of the questions. And the other part on the maintenance, so installation 1, is there going to be a solar option? And then 2, offsetting costs, like perhaps with increased kilowatts given to these consumers in this pilot stage. And then 3, maintenance. So what ended up happening, because we had the electric vehicles and at our site it couldn't be installed, they put it in my house. And so it worked for like 2 months, and then it doesn't work any longer. And so we've had like, you know, I mean, we're talking about very low use, right? We have 3 EVs, but it's basically the same one being interchanged. So those are the questions that I have. And then the launch and, you know, where it's taking place, I'd be interested in finding out where and, you know, how we can assist, you know, in this process, because we do have a lot of small businesses that are very interested in this, but we would like to see how we can help get that information. But obviously, since going through the process, I know what that looks like. And so those are the questions that I have. Thank you.
Okay, I think I followed that. So no, we don't have a solar component to the installation. So it is just going to be tapped into the existing panel. So whatever the system has, we're not doing system upgrades currently in this tranche of funding. I'm not high end on those discussions. I know they're talking about looking into adding additional transformer and separate power down the road, but that is still just very much whispers for on my end hearing that. So as far as the maintenance side of it, we do offer 2 years of prepaid networking fees and then maintenance fees that cover the property, so that they don't have to come out of pocket for that amount of time on any maintenance issues. And as far as connecting, by all means, I can send you an email. I've reached out to a lot of local businesses. My territory, like I said, I'm out of Turlock, is very much in your guys' area, Modesto. Again, with MID and TID, a lot of the small businesses in those areas won't qualify. So we have to start looking into the possible Oakdale, Riverbank, where PG&E starts to have a little bit of a foothold, and then obviously in the San Joaquin with Stockton. But unfortunately, Modesto, Turlock, we don't have the coverage with PG&E there. But I'd love to connect and be able to see what other options you have for businesses in that PG&E territory that are interested.
Okay, thank you. Yes, and I'm San Joaquin County, so that's I'm just in the Modesto office.
Okay,
so, yeah.
Okay, excellent.
So I'm in Stockton.
I've been reaching out to San Joaquin Housing Authority and trying to make connections there. Haven't had a lot of traction, and really am looking to expand on their portfolio as well as other of low-income housing providers out there that have a really deep portfolio that covers not only the San Joaquin Valley, but they go into Fresno. And so if you do have connections and would love to make introductions, then I would, that'd be a great introduction for me.
Okay, yes, definitely can help with that. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you for your presentation. Any additional questions in Modesto? Okay.
No additional questions in Modesto.
Thank you again. We're gonna move us to our next agenda item, which is the update on the Valley-wide Cleaner Rooms program.
Good evening, Madam Chair and members of the committee. My name is Brian Dodds, Program Manager here at the district. Just here this evening to give you an update on our Clean Air Rooms program implementation. As you might recall, Jamie was here in June and discussed this program as part of the wildfire update. Since then, there's been a lot of activity, and we just want to provide kind of a brief overview and update on the status of the program and kind of next steps. So as part of our outreach efforts, the district has encouraged the use of personal air filtration devices to create clean air rooms within a home to create a safe indoor air quality area and protect the public health, particularly during wildfires, but it can be used during other episodes of high air quality impacts. The district governing board has approved efforts to provide basically free air filtration devices to Valley residents living in disadvantaged communities throughout the Valley. So at a couple different phases, the initial phase was approved last year, provided $250,000 in funding, and deployed about 1,300 devices throughout the Valley. In February of this year, the board approved $3 million in funding that was specifically designated to our AB 617 communities of South Central Fresno, Shafter, and Stockton. And we're implementing this in conjunction with the Valley-wide funding that we have, which was approved in an initial allocation of $1 million was approved by our board in April. That could fund about 5,000 units. And then we launched that program in early June and had tremendous demand, basically sold out within several days of the devices that we had. So in June at our board meeting, they approved an additional $1 million for the Valley-wide program for a total of about 10,000 available units throughout the Valley this summer. So just in terms of how we're implementing the program, we selected 2 vendors through a competitive solicitation earlier this year to provide residential air filtration units for distribution to Valley residents. And both of our vendors are essentially providing the same device. So all residents throughout the Valley, all residents in the 617 communities are getting the same high quality device here. So residents in disadvantaged communities and AB 617 communities are able to apply through a streamlined online application process or by contacting the district directly. So lots of people have used the online process. Lots of people have also contacted us directly. We've taken their information and processed their application. Once they're approved, so we verify that they are residents of the community that they say they are, through submitting of a utility bill or other similar document that shows that that's where they live. We work with our vendor to ship the products directly to the participant's home or another designated mailing address if they'd rather have it shipped somewhere else. And then based on the cost of each of these units, plus the additional replacement filter that's provided here through the program, we're able to provide just over 10,000 devices to the Valley-wide program, and an additional 15,000 units for the AB 617 communities. And we found this to be a really efficient process of connecting with Valley residents and getting them, these devices. For outreach for this program, we've done a lot of community-based outreach. These are just some examples of the flyers that we put together that have been sent out and available in English, Spanish, Hmong, and Punjabi as well. So multilingual outreach throughout the Valley to ensure that everyone is aware and able to participate in the program. This table, I know there's a lot of numbers on it. This is the Valley-wide program that we have and kind of intended to reflect the demand that we've had for the program. To date, and these were updated this afternoon, Merced and Tulare only a few units, Merced about 82 units. Those are the counties that currently have availability. The other numbers reflect on the right-hand column the number of applications that we have beyond sort of the county allocation. So the $2 million that we have was distributed throughout the valley based on the population of each county. And we've had very strong demand. Essentially, applications exceed the number of available funding that we have for each of those counties. So really at this point, we've stopped accepting applications for all the counties except for Merced and Tulare, and we hope to kind of close out those counties here in the next several days. If you have people or groups in Merced, definitely encourage them to apply and get in on the program while we still have space available. For our 617 programs, it's a little bit slower go. We've seen definitely some uptick in Fresno and Shafter, a little bit slower in Stockton. As I mentioned, we've got 5,000 units for each of these communities. Still well over 4,000 available in each of the communities so far. So we really want to engage residents and the steering committees in those communities to help get the word out and then ensure that people are aware of this and can participate and be able to get these devices for their homes. On this slide, we've just got a picture of the device that we're sending out, along with the replacement filters. We're going to continue to look for additional funding resources through the state and federal agencies as these types of programs become available, and also continue to work and partner with local organizations to connect with the eligible participants in our AB 617 communities to really pick up the participation there. But lots of positive feedback that we've received, and has definitely been a very popular program that we've got here at the district. So that'll conclude the presentation that I've got, and happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Thank you. We'll start in Modesto. Questions?
Yeah, well, first and foremost, congratulations on all those numbers and getting that out in terms of mitigating the indoor air quality for our EJAG community members. And so thank you for that and streamlining that process, because I've gone through it for different folks to try to check their address, and it works really well and it's super easy, so it's not like you're not burdened in terms of applying and what have you. I think that's great. Obviously, we need more of this, especially with the air affecting everyone. But I know that it's going to the hot spots first. And so that being said, I know for the, specifically AB 617 in Stockton, we still have certain units. I think that now that the micro grants have opened back up for us, that we'll be able to assist more with, doing the outreach in those targeted areas. With that being said, do you all have a unit that we can utilize? Because you know how we take the EV and the lawnmower and to demonstrate that. And so then that way I could show it when we're at these different events and say, this is what it looks like, to give folks the idea. Because I know that when we explain it to them is one thing, but then obviously showing it to them is a lot more effective.
Yeah, SB, thanks for your question. Appreciate it, and appreciate the kind words. I know Ryan just wrote that down. I wrote it down. We'll check with Jamie. At one point, we did have some devices that we had available. I'm not sure exactly the status of them, or if we can potentially get some additional units as part of those outreach activities. So okay. One of us will follow up, either Ryan or I, or Jamie will follow up with you on that particular question, and work with Katrina if there's that opportunity to extend that to the rest of the community as well.
Yeah, if you do have that, we're going to be at a big event, the Stockton Native American Powwow. And so there's a lot of folks that come through there, and they're from, some of them from AB 617. And so I think it would be very, critical for us to have and showcase that unit there, because we'll have the EV there and we'll have the lawnmower. And then that way we can do that. And I can have someone come pick it up here, if you, have it at the Modesto office. That's not a problem. I can, send someone over, and we could take care of it that way, in terms of getting that done.
Thank you.
Thank you,
what I have one other question real quick, sorry on that. So I know that it's AB 617 that we still have funds for on that, but we have this one area, and I don't know if anyone's reached out to you about it, but it's the Mariposa project. And so it's a little bit southeast of our AB 617 jurisdiction. So what happened with that, it's a settlement based on the warehouses that are going to go in there. There's like 200 acres. And so it's called Mariposa project because it's right off of like Mariposa Road. And so there's going to be all warehouses, like the largest one of being Walmart. That's like this mega center that they're going to have there. And that's phase 1 that's approved by the city of Stockton. And then phase 2 is going in, and that's going to be, I think, 100 acres. But I know the first one is 200 acres. So that what they're trying to mitigate is indoor air quality. It's about between 150 to 250 homes, that are in that area. And so we're doing outreach to them specifically because part of the settlement is to mitigate indoor air quality. And so one of the items was, in terms of, these devices, but because it's right outside the AB 617, then we're not able to tap into this. And we weren't able to get to them in time for the one that was overall for the valley. So I don't know if there's anything that we can do for them in trying to get them at least, one of the air filters, because they're going to be facing a lot of bad air in terms of indoor air quality for the years to come, unfortunately.
Yeah, SB, to maybe try and answer your question, I don't know that we have any funding immediately available. You mentioned maybe a settlement, and I'm not sure if there's funding attached there. We'd be happy to help coordinate with anybody on how we've operated the program, or provide assistance to assist those residents, though, for sure.
Okay, yeah, that'll be great. I'll follow up with you on that then.
Okay.
Thanks.
Thank you. Questions in Bakersfield?
Yeah, I have a question. So in Kern County, there be no units available at this time, and will there be a waiting list?
So at this point, for the valley-wide program of Kern County, we would not have any additional units available. We will not maintain a waiting list beyond the people, that have kind of already applied. We're going to work through that. And we have some amount of fallout from people who applied and processing these kind of on a first come, first served basis. So if you see in Kern County, there's about 400 extra apps that we have in hand. Some of those might get funded through normal kind of fallout, but we won't be taking any new applications on top of that. And then we have the Shafter specific funding available for those residents.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I just have one quick comment. I tried to help at least 3 residents who live in the AB 617 area. They applied last year during the first pilot. And in your system, it seems that they received it, but they never received the units. But then when I tried, it said you're not eligible because you already received one. So I would like to flag that and how we can correct it, because we have a lot of, seating devices, and these type of people are going to fall through the cracks.
Yeah, so we did have an issue with the system. Thank you for bringing it to our attention. It's my understanding that those people we did end up getting them through. So
yeah, I believe so.
Maybe check with them. They should have gotten the device. So once we were able to resolve that issue, we did reach out to I think it was only like
it was a handful, but yeah,
had that issue.
3. Yeah.
Okay.
And then just a quick comment. So we have our urban green coordinator that it's in place already, and we're going to start doing a lot of activities in preparation for the tree planting season. So I think it would be great to pair the arrange for the 2, because it goes together, right? You plant a tree outside, and then you have an air filtration device inside your house.
I think that'd be great.
Love to partner on that. Yes.
No, I mean, and if you want to just connect with me and get me the names of and addresses probably of the residents, and we can just double check that and make sure that we do have that taken care of.
Thank you. And talking about AB 617, that's our next item. So I guess Stephanie will present. Thank you so much.
My name is Stephanie.
So just to introduce Stephanie, she's recently was promoted to program manager in the community strategies and resources. She's been doing an amazing job in filling in for Jessica Olson and really helping to lead the community efforts. And yeah, so this is her first EJAG meeting. So I know everybody will be very nice to her.
Of course.
Thank you. I think it shows every single time I come up here, I forget to turn on my mic. So again, Stephanie Ng, Program Manager of the Community Strategies and Resources Department, and today I'll be providing an update on AB 617 implementation since our last meeting. So during our August Governing Board meeting, our board did approve several exciting updates to the program, including approving the implementation of our public fleet vehicle program for the purchase of new advanced technology, for public fleet vehicles in 3 communities: South Central Fresno, Shafter, and our Arvin Lamont communities. In Stockton, as was recommended by the CSC, we've reallocated $100,000 from our school air filtration measure over to our residential lawn and garden measure in order to support a distribution event, which we've done in some of our other communities, including Shafter and Fresno. Like a lot of our other communities, we've kind of seen across the board these school air filtration funds. We've talked to schools, and generally a lot of the funds they received through COVID relief, they've used that for school air filtration. So now we're working with community members to find other measures that need that support. And then also in Shafter, as also recommended by the Shafter CSC, our board approved increasing the funding cap for our EV charging infrastructure incentive program from $25,000 to $50,000 for level 3 DC fast chargers. And this change will allow us to leverage state funds to install these fast chargers in Shafter for little to no out-of-pocket cost. And we are working with the Central California Asthma Collaborative on outreach and then also on securing those state funds. Like Brian mentioned, I won't go into it too much, but we do have 3 AB 617 communities, Fresno, Shafter, and Stockton, that have our Clean Air Rooms program open. We are continuing to work with our outreach and communications, as well as our community strategies and resources team to continue outreach in these communities. And I love the idea of pairing this. I've heard some recent updates regarding our urban greening measure, and so we definitely are looking for opportunities to get the word out in partnership with other events that are happening in the community. Another update, as part of this process, we do have to submit what's called a project plan to CARB for approval to run some of these programs that don't already have pre-existing guidelines. And so we have submitted and are awaiting approval from CARB for 2 measures, our passenger vehicle repair and replace programs. We have heard from CARB that they hope to approve by the end of August, so we do hope to start those programs up soon. And then also we have exciting news regarding our urban greening and vegetative barriers proposals. So we finalized the contract in South Central Fresno, which of course Central California Environmental Justice Network is partnering with us for that. And we're hoping to start planting in the fall, it sounds like, which is very, very exciting. And we are working on moving forward proposals in our Shafter and Stockton communities as well. And finally, we are planning to hold lawn and garden exchange events, as we've done in some of our other communities like Shafter and Fresno, in our Stockton and Arvin Lamont communities as well. And so we're working on planning these events. And essentially at these events, they're really exciting events in which we are able to bring the dismantler and the free unit all in this one-stop shop event. And so folks can come, bring their old devices to be crushed, and then they can pick up a brand new unit, and they just leave. They sometimes have, we have breakfast sometimes through community members, so they leave with a breakfast burrito, and it's all a very quick process. And so we're looking forward to holding more of these events in the fall. And maybe just to wrap up, I do have one more update in that we have had several in-person meetings this year, which we've really appreciated, seeing community members, being able to share a meal with community members and really engage in person and see each other face to face. And we're looking forward to closing off the year with a couple more of those. And those are my updates, and I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you, and welcome to your first EJAG meeting. I'll start in the south. Any questions out of the Bakersfield office?
No questions in Bakersfield.
Okay, Laura? No questions in Fresno. Modesto?
Stephanie, I also wanted to welcome you. You do such a great job with everything on AB 617. And I am super excited about the lawn and garden trade-in. So as soon as that gets going, let me know so we can help with that, because we definitely want to get that done.
Yeah, thanks so much, SB. And we definitely, as we are planning on these, want to work with our CSC members to do outreach. So we'll definitely be reaching out to, our residents, our community-based organizations to make this happen. We're super excited too.
I just have one question. SB mentioned that the mini grants, and I did not know if those were available still, because I think I have several ideas of, smaller organizations in the Fresno AB 617 that could really help us get the word out, because I was stunned that we still have a lot of, devices.
Yeah, send anybody our way. Yeah, I'm sure you're aware, we did partner with a community-based organization up in the northern area to do some, and we've definitely partnered with SB in the past, and would be interested in working with her again. So if you do have people are interested, please reach out to Jamie Holt or Heather Hanks.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Awesome. We're rolling here. Any potential items for our future meetings, especially for the October one? Anything that we're missing that you would like to hear?
Okay, I didn't know if you wanted us to, what area you wanted us to start, Naomi, but I'm interested. I had a couple of things that came up. So through the vehicle replacement, the Clean Cars for All, one of the questions that I've received is that, how we have designated auto dealers where people can go and do the trade-in. And so when they're shopping out the EVs, they said that they had gone, for example, Toyota, to the one that was designated, and that one was more expensive, the same vehicle, than the vehicle in another Toyota dealer. And so I wanted to see if we can get a report that included the auto dealers that we currently deal with. And that issue came up because the person actually told the resident that they had to increase the price because of the voucher. And so obviously they were like upset at this because they're thinking that didn't make any sense. And then, went and did their own research and found out that, the other dealers had a lower price for the vehicle. And so for me, it doesn't make sense. I would think that if it's a Toyota dealer, we should do all Toyota dealers in the Valley. This way there's more open competition, and maybe they can get an even better deal because they want that client, versus them raising the price on our residents. So that being said, if we can have an update as far as, how the program, we know the program's doing great. We know there's a lot of people waiting in line to do this. I think there's just some things that we might have to iron out. And so that being said, if we can get a report on that, and specifically looking at, the list of dealers that we currently utilize. Thank you.
Be happy to address SB's comments there, and definitely have a couple thoughts on those. One, dealers should not be increasing prices based on their participation in the program. We make that very clear in our training with them. So happy to look into any individual instances where that's not happening. We do a ton of dealer outreach for this program, and dealers have to agree to participate, and we have an agreement with them on what's expected. There are certain things that we ask them to do, and in terms of holding on to the old vehicles until they can be scrapped, which is normally 4 or 5 days before the car carrier can pick them up. And there's a couple other kind of main criteria of the program that we ask them to do. And there are some dealerships that we found that they just don't want to do that, whether they're new car dealers, used car dealers. And so really, I kind of think that's where some of the crux is. We've got about 30 dealers on board right now throughout the valley. We're constantly, in fact, we just approved like 3 more this week. So we're constantly engaging dealerships. We're constantly getting dealerships on board. We want to make sure that people, as they're going through this program, have options, be able to go out and find the vehicle that not only works for them, but the price that works for them. Because even with the incentives that are going to go up to $12,000 here very shortly, that still leaves a significant balance that they are responsible for, right? And so we want to make sure that we're putting them in a position to be successful and not providing cars that are overpriced or they feel like they're getting gouged on. They should get a fair price. One of the requirements of the program that I will say is that they offer no haggle pricing. So they put out prices that are out there. That's supposed to be the price. So if I walk in as a participant in the program and Ryan walks in, we should have no difference in the price of the vehicle that they're providing. And so I think that's one of the things that maybe deters some participation. So the price is supposed to be the price across the board. And so, yeah, but we do engage our dealers a lot, and happy again, SB, to follow up with any individual that may have had a poor experience through that process, or if they still need assistance in finding a vehicle, we can definitely help out with that as well.
Okay, Brian, thank you. And I will definitely put her in contact with you so that we can get that resolved. Thanks.
Okay, thank you very much.
So add that to the agenda for our next meeting. Any other recommendations of other topics you want to discuss here? I have one. I've been hearing, and you meant I don't know who mentioned it today. I think probably you, Ryan, the heat pumps. So it probably was Jess who said that it could be both. It could be like for cooling, but also for heating. And that's very, I just cannot wrap my head around it. And also if that's gonna still be available. I remember there was something at the beginning of the year where if you had a fireplace, you can replace it with that kind of thing. So if that program will be available or is still available.
Yeah, it is still available. You can get up to 5. It varies. There's like, areas with natural gas, without natural gas, hot spot. So there's different funding amounts, but the maximum you can get is $5,000. So it's still, a sizable amount. And yes, they do heat and cool. So while they call them heat pumps, they really provide cooling and heating.
Well, I would love to hear more about them just because we know that in older homes that continues to be a problem during the heat days, right? That there's, especially for homes that have some coolers, like, it's really not helping them cool down their houses. So that could be an alternative.
Okay, so maybe like bringing a retailer or someone that is very knowledgeable about it and can talk to the benefits and maybe potential challenges with the technology. Sounds good.
That would be helpful, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay, any other ideas? And of course, our meeting is until October, so if you can think of any other items, please feel free to email Katrina, Ryan, myself, and we'll add them to the list.
Yeah. Well, a couple of maybe, we're back out there doing a lot of the school outreach, so the thought would be maybe bring an update on the district's healthy living school program.
Especially in preparation of the curtailment period starting, so.
Yeah. And then we could always try it again to get CAL FIRE. Disappointed that they weren't able to come today. They've been doing a lot of work up in the mountain areas to reduce fire load and, to hopefully lessen the chances for catastrophic wildfires. So, we can always check back in on that as well if the group is interested.
Yeah. Great ideas. So last chance for public comments.
Are there any public comments in Bakersfield?
No public comment in Bakersfield.
Thank you. Modesto, do you have any public comments?
No public comments in Modesto.
Do we have any members of the public in Fresno? Seeing none and none online.
Okay, fellow EJAG members, any final comments? No from Fresno. Bakersfield or Modesto?
None in Bakersfield.
Okay, I see
None in
nodding.
Modesto.
So, well, I think we have broke the record at 7 p.m. and we're adjourning our meeting. Thank you all for being here. We will see each other October 26th at 5:30 p.m. Good evening.
Good night, everyone. Thank you so much.
Good night. Thank you.